Okay, guys, so this is the worksheet we'll be working on, and this is the data we have. So on May 17th, I deposited a total of 1,300 Brazilian. This is the current CDI rate, so yearly 6.39, monthly 6.9 divided by 12, and daily 6.39 divided by 252. So those values will be used for our estimate. And here we have the real data. The gross yield, or the earnings before taxes. This is the IOF, and this is the IR, and these values are all in BRL, or Brazilian. So don't mind about those formulas on the first row right now. I will explain them later in more detail. So I want to complete here, okay, all the way to today, June 18th. So the easiest way to do that is by cell referencing and writing formulas. So for example, I want the previous date plus 1. So this is 20, and then I will drag this formula all the way down to today. Oh, we have here all the days. So I'm going to plot these values, but I want a kind of customized x-axis labels. I want the work days to be in black, and the weekends and holidays to be plotted in red. So for that, I will need to complete all those columns here. First, I will use concatenate and month and day functions to get this date value as a text. Then I will use this other formula to check if this day is a work day or a weekday. So I don't have to write it down manually. The more formulas and automated logic sequences from Excel I can use, the easier my life will be. And this column D will give me which day of the week this day represents, but instead of a number, as this weekday function gives, will give me a text like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. This one is the more labor intensive because I actually have to write everything down. And these two columns will be used to customize our x-axis. And I will show you guys how the logic works later. So first, column B. Now here I want to get the month and date information from column A and write it down as a text, right? So it goes more or less like this. Concatenate is a function that puts pieces of text together. So I want to concatenate month, comma, comma, day. Okay, so I got that error because I forgot to close the parentheses. But if I just do enter twice, then Excel will do that for me. So yeah, I got what I well, maybe not exactly what I wanted because this is inverted. Yeah, much better. Okay, and now I'll drag the formula all the way down. Very good. Now weekday equals weekday. Now the second argument of the weekday function, let me choose which number is Monday. So when does the week start? I like this one. So number 1 is Monday and number 7 is Sunday. Now I want to drag this formula again all the way down. And now the most labor intensive. I want to choose. So this choose formula is somewhat like nested ifs. So it based on different conditions, it will return a certain value. So what do I want here? Weekday. So based on the weekday. And I said that number 1 is Monday and number 7 is Sunday, right? So choose. If this is number 1, then it will return Monday. If it's number 2, Tuesday. If it's number 3, Wednesday, and so on. Oh, Saturday. Is this right? Yes, it is. Good. I'll drag the formula again all the way down. Now, here, these columns are the columns for the customized axis. So what do I want here? I want this to return my baseline number if it's a weekend, or NA as in not available if it's a weekday. So when I plot a chart using this column and Excel finds NA, it will just ignore these entries. Okay, so this is what I want, because I just want here values on the weekends. So how am I going to do this? Weekend. So if this more than 5, so 6 or 7, this means it's a weekend. So I want it to be 0. Otherwise, it's NA, close parenthesis. Now, this other one is similar to the negative of this, the previous column, right? So if this is lower than 6, or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it means it's not necessarily a work day, because I'm not discounting the holidays here. So this is just a weekday, not a weekend. So if this is less than 6, 0, otherwise NA. Now again, drag all the way down, and basically this is what I get. So as you can see, these are inverted values, right? During the week I got entries here, and during the weekend I get entries here, and not available here when it's weekend, and not available here when it's a weekday. So throughout these dates, the only holiday I got was May 31st. So I probably could do something to implement holidays in this weekday formula as well, but I'm just going to do this manually, because it's kind of easier since I'm doing only once. But if you have like a huge data sheet you have to go through, then maybe it's better to think about it will probably be better to think about ways to automate all of it. So here I just need to change these values, because this is not workday, and here holiday. So maybe I can call this, instead of weekend, just leave the weekend, but weekend plus holidays. Oh, right. So now I get all my axis data columns. Now let's go to all the y axis data I need. I'll start by adding 2 more columns here, and some more. Okay, there you go. So I want to show you guys the percentage of IOF compared to the gross yield. This is similar to the data I showed you in the PowerPoint slides. So percentage equals this divided by gross yield and drag it all the way down. And I want this to be percentage, so it's pretty format. And I want one decimal case. And I want to do the same thing for IR, which is the government taxes. This divided by that all the way down. Same thing, change format, one decimal place. Good. Now I have the percentages. You can see that starting from this date, which is the 30th entry, it will stay at 22.5, which is the equivalent to the value I showed you guys in the table before. And this value will only change again after 180 days. This one, this started at 96.8 and went all the way down to 0, and this will not change again anymore. Good. Now let's calculate the liquid or the account balance. Equals the principal plus gross yield minus taxes. Just one thing, this when I drag this formula down, I don't want this cell to change, so I will lock it and then drag it all the way down. Good. So after the 30 days, I started with 1,300 and I got 1,304.96 reais. So I earned almost 5 reais throughout those 3 days on 1,300 investments. Now let's see how those percentages work. The total amount minus what? And this one is a locked cell. So what am I calculating here is our normalized returns. Basically, this is how much I would get in a $1 in a $1 investment. So let's make this look a little bit better. Also percentages. Decimal places, come on. Yeah, very good. Okay guys, that's it. That's all we need to know. And we need to plot our data. And I will create just one additional column that I will call a factor column. It is this one times this one, which is the normalized yield plus 1. So this is basically how much one real would yield in the Nubank account. So we get from our real data that the actual monthly yield is 0.3815%. The estimated yield is 0.53, but this is before taxes. The amount after tax would be this one times 1 minus 0.225. Which is 0 in percentage, decimal places, 41, 27 to 38. So our estimate is a little bit higher than the actual returns. And that's okay, it happens. It happens all the time. We are not able to accurately estimate stuff from this raw data, but we can always trust in the real data as long as the person behind the original data is trustworthy and we can trust this person to look at these numbers and write them down correctly in our spreadsheet. Am I trustworthy? I don't know. But these numbers are correct, trust. Now let's do some plotting, guys. Okay guys, now that we have all the data we need, I want to start plotting them. My first chart will be investment taxes by time. So how am I going to do this? Choose these columns here, then insert scatter. I want to add the second data trend. Call IR percentage X values, same Y values IR. So here we have both taxes that affect our investment returns. And now let me show you guys how to get those customized X labels I've been talking about. So I have to add two more series here. The first one I'll call weekend X values, the same Y values weekend. I want to add another one, work as in work day, X values, same one, Y values work day, column F. Okay, let's see. Now we have all the data we have here in this chart, so let's start customizing it, making it look prettier. So first let me delete this one and add the data labels. And how do I do that? So here in chart tools, layout, series, work, go ahead and click on data labels, more data label options, check X values, below alignment, vertical, rotate alt text 90 degrees, and there you go. So actually I have an error here. This is giving me my first, this is also giving the column rating, right? So how can I fix that? I'll have to go ahead and edit the data all. So I have to go ahead and edit the data again here real quick, guys. So it's from B2 to 32. So I'll go ahead and copy this and paste it here. Okay, there you go. Now I don't have that entry anymore. So I'll go ahead and do the same thing I did with work. I'll do the same to weekend. So series, weekend, chart tools, layout, data labels, more data labels option, X values, below, alignment, rotate 90 degrees. And there you go. Now we have the labels here just like we wanted. Just one thing, weekend should be red, so I'll go text fill and pick red color. Now I want to remove all those entries here, right? So I'll go here, format data series, marker options none. Do the same here, marker options none. And now I just have to change the size of this chart area so the numbers can be better positioned, and I will delete those entries here because they are not necessary in the legend. I want this to go from 0 to 100. Don't need this 120. Set 1. And this is cool. Now I want to add chart title. So this is investment taxes by time. Get a little bit bigger. Move it up. Smaller. Set the title here. There you go, guys. Now we can see how linear is the IOF decrease through time, all the way from day number 1 to day number 30, at which it comes to 0. And we can also see how IR percentages are calculated. So we can see that this point here is a little bit out of the trend, right? But all the other ones follow pretty much this stabilizing trend, and of course this value here is 22.5, and the next time this value change will be after 180 days, in which it will go to 20%, a little bit down. But we don't care about this right now because we are only consider about our short-term investment of less than 30 days. And we have here, as we wanted, the customized labels on the x-axis with those cool red colors on the weekends and holidays. Pretty nice, right, guys? Okay, so let me create a new sheet and move this chart there. And the next chart I want is the one I'll be doing the extrapolation on. The chart that I will get the formula that calculates how much I would make based on how long my investment is going. So I've just picked this column M and insert scatter. So this is what, and I will just select this starting from 1 here, and the time here is okay. I don't need this legend right now. This I'll call okay. So the name of this chart is factor, and this is, and these are these values here on column M, and I got this trend. Okay, so now that I have all this data here, I want to calculate an equation that best fit these points. And Excel has a function that does that automatically. It's this trend line option in layout. So more trend line option. As I click in this button, Excel will automatically add a linear regression model that best fit these points. So I can click here to display this equation on chart, display the linear equation, and also display R-square value. This R-square value is a statistic, a measure that tells us how close this fitting equation is to our observed data. So this linear one is 0.9356. This number is okay, but we can see here that this linear equation is not a very good fit. So let's try different ones. Exponential doesn't change much, doesn't improve at all. Logarithmic, it actually got worse, both in R squared and visual trend. Now let's try power first. It's pretty much the same as logarithmic. So moving average is not very good for us right now because it will not give us a Prober equation. What we actually want is so a polynomial of the second order will give us this fit, which is pretty good, right? Can see here that there is this deviation because starting from here, the bad thing was that This is a weekend, so we don't get any yield on weekends, so the value was already constant because both taxes were already in equilibrium, so they were not changing anymore. But okay, we can leave it. So let's try to pick a different order and see what happens with the r squared and the fit graphically. Remember that it says here that I can enter any number from 2 to 6. So if I entered 1, it would be the linear fit, right? And here, the higher the order, the more likely it is that this equation will actually go through every point in this data series, but it does not mean that the equation will be a very good representation of this set. So I don't want a very high order. Let's just check what happens when I choose 3. So 0.9967, 2, 9967. So it doesn't change at all. Then I will just stay with my order 2 equation. Then I'll close. I'll make this a little bit bigger so we can see it better. Okay, so my equation is y is the factor, equals 4e minus 06. What does this mean? This is 4 divided by 1, 4 times 10 to the power of minus 0.6. This is called the scientific notation. And this is x squared. What is x? It's the number of days. Minus 3 times 10 to the power of minus 0.6 times x, again the time, plus 1. So let's go ahead and write this equation down here. Okay, I will insert an additional column. I will enter these coefficients here, a, b, c. So c equals 1, it's the third coefficient. Now the second coefficient equals minus 3 divided by 1e6. This 1e6 is equivalent to that exponential to the 6th power of 10. And finally, the first coefficient equals 4 times 4 divided by 1e6. It's the same. Okay, now we have our formula and our coefficients, so we can calculate all those points here. And how would we do that? Well, actually, what is on the x-axis? The values I enter in the x-axis here when I only selected the factor and clicked on insert scatter plot are just numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until the number of entries I have in this column. So it would be something like this. So this represents the number of days. And now, how do I calculate y? Equals a times this one squared time squared plus b times time plus coefficient c. And there you go. So this column B are the values adjusted by Excel to give us this equation. So they will be pretty similar to column N. Actually 0.9967% similar. So let's see how much these values are. But first, I forgot something here, right? When I drag the formula down, I don't want to change those coefficients. So let's lock them down by adding those money signs like this, and then drag it all the way down, paste the formula, and there you go. Pretty similar to those ones. Good. So from the raw data, we worked on model. Now we can estimate how much we are going to save based on the number of days our money is invested in a Nubank account. So let's go back to that question. How much can we actually make by investing money short term and paying for stuff with a credit card? So let's make some assumptions here, guys. Let's say that on average we have 15 days of payables outstanding, because 15 is the mean between 30 and 0. So let's say, since we can buy everything we need on the first day after our credit card bills has been paid, we'll use 15 as an average estimate as of how many days we can invest the money we use to pay our next credit card bill. And how much is the factor for 15? 1,000,86. So let's say that I spend on average 1,000 reais every month on my credit card. And to estimate how much I would be able to save if I invested this amount on an average of 15 days, I just multiply this value by the factor here. I calculated from 15 and I will get 1,000.86. So the actual yield on this investment would be 86 cents on a 1,000 reais investment. So the answer to our question is, for 1,000 reais spent on an average of 15 days of payables outstanding, we can make 86 cents. 86 cents, guys. Is it worth it? Well, on one hand, anything is better than 0. On the other hand, this is pretty low. But the important thing, guys, that we learned today is that now you know how to work with this data and, based on some assumptions, make your own model and predict values based on past information. And this is very important for our investment, guys, because the best estimate we have for future earnings are past earnings. And the more used we get to all this number crunching and calculations, the easier it will be to plan our investments and estimate how much money we actually need for our goals, what kind of return rates we have to seek to achieve them, and how long do we need to keep our money invested. I know that not everyone likes numbers. A lot of people despise them and are afraid of making calculations. But as you saw from this example, it's not that difficult. At first, of course it is, like anything else you do in your life. But as you get used to it and as you get familiar with more and more examples and you do this 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, it will get easy and you'll be able to apply this kind of model easily to all your investment forecasts. So that's it for today, guys. This was another long video with a lot of new information, especially for those who are not familiar with Excel. I will write down all the Excel formulas I use in the description, but remember that Google is your best friend. So if there's some formula you have no idea how to use, just Google it. And it's 99.999% certain that someone else has already used the same formula, or maybe has the same question you have, and you will be able to learn something from it. In case this fails, feel free to leave a comment or email me. I'm no Excel expert, that's for sure, but I'll do my best to help you. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you learned something interesting today, and see you later. Bye bye.